DC fandom is right around the corner, literally this weekend. Are they gonna announce any new things there? Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flix. My name is Chris Wong. First, we're going to talk about Metal Man. Then we're going to talk about James Gunn's next DC project. And finally, let's talk about David Ayer's Suicide Squad. Let's talk about Metal Man. Now, back in 2012, Barry Sonnenfeld, who directed Men in Black, Addams Family, actually talked about developing a DC project. And that DC project was Metal Man. What the heck is Metal Man? Well, the Metal Man centers on an artificial intelligence expert named William Magnus, who creates 6 cyborgs, each made from a distinct chemical element with talents reflecting their places in the periodic table. Gold, their leader, was almost infinitely stretchable. Iron, the strongman. Lead, the simpleton protector. Mercury, the capricious risk-taker who could melt into the tiniest crevices. Platinum, a female cyborg who could flatten herself, but who couldn't believe she wasn't a real woman. Now, Metal Men appeared in their own comic book series and appeared with other DC characters as well, stemming all the way from the 60s. But this movie was talked about in 2012. It's 2021. Where is this thing? Well, like all these DC movies, they seem to announce it and talk about it, and we don't hear about it for a long period of time. But I guess that doesn't mean it's not actively still in development, meaning they're still writing about it, they're still trying to make it, and they just haven't really got it into production yet. Well, JoeBlow.com actually got a quote from Barry Sonnenfeld on its current update for Metal Man. This is what he said. You know, it's funny because I am developing Metal Man with Warner Brothers. We're actively working on a treatment for that. For me, it's not so much a superhero thing as it is world building. If you look at the work I've done, whether it's the Addams Family, Men in Black, Pushing Daisies, Schmigadoon, or a series of unfortunate events, it's all about creating a world, an unusually slightly off-kilter, quirky, different kind of world. That's what I love doing. Now, honestly, that could very well mean it could be its own distinct universe and not even part of the DCEU. Or it could be like James Gunn's Suicide Squad, where it has its own distinct flavor, but still within the DCEU, having DCEU characters like Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. And honestly, it's still in development. I mean, we've heard about it in 2012, we're now hearing about it again in 2021, still in development mode, not in production mode. I'm still curious, when is this ever going to come out? Alright, let's talk about James Gunn's next DC project. Now, James Gunn is currently busy doing Guardians of the Galaxy 3. In fact, just yesterday, Deadline announced that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 will Poulter to play Adam Warlock in the next installment of the Marvel franchise. Adam Warlock was actually teased at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, so we already knew that Adam Warlock will eventually be in the Guardians of the Galaxy universe, and will probably be in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Well, now we actually have someone who plays him. So that's James Gunn's kind of focus right now, but he's still going to be doing another DC project. Now, James Gunn is pretty active on Twitter, and when articles were going out that he was working on a next DC project, he liked a bunch of stuff. He rarely likes things, concepts, and ideas unless he may be actually thinking about that or think it's a good idea. One of the interesting concepts that he liked was this. Allow me to wager what the next James Gunn DC project will be. At Dave Bautista, #Bane. And I'm all for this. It just makes perfect sense since Dave Bautista is done with Guardians of the Galaxy. And if he's gonna go over at DC, Bane would be a character that Dave Bautista actually would want to play. And if it's true that Secret Six is in development by James Gunn, well, the character that is in Secret Six is Bane himself. So Dave Bautista playing Bane just makes a lot of sense, and he would be perfect for the role. There's one other idea and tweet that James Gunn liked, and it was this. Suicide Squad 3 in Apokolips. This will be great. Now, Suicide Squad Apokolips Now was an action-packed story where Task Force X is sent to Iran to prevent an execution, only to wind up rerouted to Apokolips, along with Shade, the Changing Man. It will take all their power to survive the onslaught of the female Furies and find their way back home again. And James Gunn is a fan of John Ostrander's version of Suicide Squad. In fact, that was the inspiration for his The Suicide Squad. But the fact that he liked this and maybe could be a possible idea for a new Suicide Squad movie. The idea is that he's going to be making multiple DC projects. So it could be making Secret Six and, of course, another Suicide Squad. And what's crazy to think about him doing a Suicide Squad with Apokolips is Zack Snyder's Justice League. I mean, think about it. If he's going to make a Suicide Squad Apokolips Now type story where the Suicide Squad ends up in Apokolips, and I don't know how they actually survive, I'm willing to bet that James Gunn will definitely use Zack Snyder's ideas for Apokolips. Darkseid, Granny Goodness, Desaad, stuff he'd seen from Zack Snyder's Justice League. But it'd be like the situation where he got characters from the first Suicide Squad movie. He kept Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, he kept Rick Flag, he kept Captain Boomerang, he kept Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, and he would have got Will Smith as Deadshot if Will Smith was available. And I think it would be pretty cool if he got Ray Porter to do the voice of Darkseid. He'll probably change the designs just like how he changed the designs of Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn and Rick Flag. He'll probably try to make the designs look exactly like the comic books. But the fact that if possible he could get Ray Porter a voice job as a Darkseid once again would be pretty cool for Ray Porter. And if you remember, Warner Brothers lets James Gunn do anything with his projects, even letting him include any characters he wants from the DCEU. But I kind of like that idea better than a Secret Six movie. I think it sounds pretty epic. Imagine a whole team of them going over to Apokolips and a lot of them die or get ripped apart by Apokolips forces. Because you know it's going to be rated R and you know it's going to be bloody and gory. Now, the first Suicide Squad died mostly by human means, and some of them died by Starro. Imagine the gore and violence you see in a Justice League Dark Apokolips War, but in a live action and Suicide Squad is being ripped apart. That'd be pretty messed up and pretty awesome at the same time. Will this happen? I don't know. Maybe we'll get to hear more about James Gunn's next DC project at DC Fandom. Speaking of Suicide Squad, let's talk about David Ayer's Suicide Squad. Now, David Ayer continues to post cryptic messages over on Instagram story. This is a new one. The most powerful thing you can do right now is be effing patient while things you've worked for are unfolding. Now, my Ayer Cut mind is thinking this is associated with Ayer Cut, that we should be patient and things are unfolding. Or this could just be a generalized quote to tell you to be patient about anything. Who knows at this point, so I guess we'll have to wait. But there was something that people were talking about yesterday, and it was this tweet from Warner Brothers Classic Films. Raise your hand if you wanted more of Adam Beach as Slipknot in Suicide Squad. Now, many people were arguing if this was a new photo of Slipknot or not, but actually this already came out in 2016. But the one thing people were looking at was that watermark over the lower right corner, where it says 2021 WBEI, which stands for Warner Brothers Entertainment Interactive. So people were actively freaking out that this means that they're copywriting this movie for 2021, meaning the David Ayer Suicide Squad could be a 2021 movie. Are we going to get an announcement at DC Fandom? Hold your horses. I was getting a little excited too, but people caught on to the fact that Warner Brothers Classic Films does these to other movies as well, including this one, where there is a watermark for this old movie and it does say 2021 WBEI. Why do they do that? I have no idea, but it's not exclusive to David Ayer's Suicide Squad. So even though this would have been a really cool find and I was so happy to see it, unfortunately it really doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that the Ayer Cut is not coming out. And David Ayer has been slipping a lot of hints, if they are hints towards the Ayer Cut or just generalized quotes that he wanted to put out on Instagram story. I don't know if we're going to hear about it at DC Fandom or not, but let's wait and see. And we're not going to have to wait that much longer. It's literally this Saturday.